In a world that walks the line, there's a rare few who think outside the box together for the crew. To break the equations, not bound to any rule. Exposing to the world the universe's own view. It takes the talent of the craftsman, it takes the mind of the fool, to make the vision realize energy and matter in a duel. To a break, to a duel. The old man Bills was running through his head. Cheryl probably got it hiding under his bed. Penny up the ante, making power for days. Don't listen to a word that the straight dope says. Mike building batteries that power a ship. Victor comes and talking math, that's the water spiral dip. Sean chucking plasma bolts a mile long. Sheila on the video making tone chuck the prongs. Burning breaking matter, they said it couldn't be done. And to all the people in the chat, I know you're having fun. So it's time to spend your Saturday with the dope big old man Bills.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Bills. Joe, what's going on, brother?
Hey, hey, hey! What's going on?
There's a Fat Albert here.
Yeah,
The first
Fat
thing.
Albert. That's how I feel. Just a little whiter, but nonetheless.
I love it, man. All right, guys, we got a cool show for you today, man. We're going to do a little look back in time at what Joe said and how he said the universe started. So it's going to be a pretty cool show. And then we're going to expand on that and throw in some new details as we came across them in the, what was it, now 2 years we've been doing this, or a year and a half?
Yeah, year and a half we've been doing it. And the odd thing is, and I think this is what we'll find, it's what I said the other day, or what I might have said on Traveling Fools or something, but it's like the answer comes to you and you have it, and you have this understanding of it, but like its full scope isn't understood yet. It's not realized, right? So we're like, what you're going to hear is that we've always known the answer. It's just this application that's been the complication all along, right? But once we go over, and you'll see how I fumble around with this and trying to describe it in bad camera angles and stuff, then we could start breaking it down some more in more today's terms,
Right on. All right, let me share the screen here. We'll pull this right up. Oh yeah, look at that.
Old school.
Oh, definitely old school there. All right, let's find out what we had to say.
I'm going to take an extremely complicated topic now, and I'm going to oversimplify it to the point where it's almost comical. I think that's sort of the best way to put it. So this actually goes in tune with something I was discussing with Nathan the other day. In fact, it was a discussion with Nathan that brought about this thought of kind of how to describe something, and that kind of culminated in the need to want to have this episode. So I want to just say that it all follows the formula that I previously discussed in other videos, the same exact chart that is the descent of energy to matter. And we're going to be elaborating on a lot of that today, right? So,
hey, Joe, is this the right video, or do we need the different one?
This is the right video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just being long-winded because, I think I was new to podcasting and I was still, in a nervous mode.
Oh, I'm going, man, descent to matter. That's what we wanted, right?
Well, we could touch on that separately. We could, but let's do this because this is the one, man. This one goes everywhere.
I'll trust you. Let's go.
What I want to think about is how it all started. Okay. And again, oversimplify it, but then tie it into how it's relevant to what we're doing. All right. Okay. So here we have this white plane, a white piece of paper. Okay. I know it looks not white on camera, but this is a blank white piece of paper. There is nothing on it whatsoever. Okay. And suppose for this example, it is still, calm, and it is both a piece of paper and not a piece of paper at the same time. It's just could be. But then on this piece of paper, what we're going to do is
right on,
one
Darren.
Single
Thank you, brother.
laptop. Oh wow, yeah, can't.
All right, we'll pause Joe's bad drawings here for a minute. Darren, right on, brother. Thank you. Gifted 5 Old Man Bills memberships. Totally awesome, brother.
Yeah, man. So who got them? We got Lucas Hinch, we got Cooter, Troy, Greg, and Kill Mechanism. Congratulations to you guys on getting those free memberships. Enjoy the content, man. There's a lot of stuff up there.
Right on.
See that?
Yeah, that light's got you. There you go.
Okay, maybe that's a little bit better. It's still terrible.
Oh, it
but
went dark
you get,
again.
yeah, you get the gist though. So
I
now
got
you
it,
have
though, yeah.
one dot on a white sheet. Okay. Now there is a lot more white page than there is black dot. Okay. And if not for this black dot, what's the relevance of the white sheet? Okay. Now this is the creation of duality. All right. Now this white sheet, it just wants to be a white sheet. So what it does is it goes after the black dot and it tries to erase the black dot. Okay, but the black dot, it's not going anywhere. So it battles it out. And what it finds is it was able to make a little bit of progress breaking down this black dot. And it was able to break it down into this sort of less black gray area. Okay. Now, the white not wanting to be anything other than the white sheet continues this. It disperses this black dot into just a bigger and lighter gray area until the whole entire page, suppose, okay, is gray. Now, once the page is gray, okay, it can no longer be a white sheet. Okay, it cannot get rid of the black dot. And it has, in essence, reached a form of equilibrium.
Oh, what did I just say there?
Becoming a gray sheet. Okay?
Oh.
Now, how this is relevant is after the start, okay, this white page, for purposes of our use, okay, as human beings on planet Earth, trying to do anything with our environment, okay, this white sheet is damn near irrelevant to a degree when you're talking about physical matter, okay? Because there is no matter in the white, okay? The black represents the matter in this, okay? So, but now that it's formed this equilibrium of gray, okay, where it's balanced out with the matter, energy and matter balanced out, okay, that is the point of access for a usable Aether field. Okay. Now, what?
All right, Joe. Take your bow, buddy.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one.
That's a good one.
Took some time to prove out, but it did. Because what does that mean? That means that you need the equilibrium state or the ambient equilibrium state of entropy. You create an offset differential, and when you reintroduce the offset differentials, it's a separation of the two that must come back and reconvene together, right? But now if you introduce all the forms of electromagnetism in proportion, you could stabilize the non-equilibrium where they're wanting to come together, and there's this force that exists where they want to mix. Okay, that is entropy, right? So they want to mix, but you have them in a state where they can't. Well, that's your excess energy. That's it. That's your 0 point access. And why? And that goes to what I said immediately before we started the cast today, right? On one side, you have still. And what's still? Still is no motion. And as you know, no motion, well, nothing. Nothing can really hold together under those circumstances. It's the very forces of the motion that are the attractive forces amongst anything, right?
Mhm.
So we know that even what we would consider to be solid matter is anything but. Really, there's very, in contrast to the area between um, fundamental particles, right? There's so much more space than there is particle.
Right.
Anything, right? So that's because it's in motion, and that's because the particles are being held together in these stable forms in the environment, right? But what happens when everything stops moving? Well, everything falls apart. It actually disappears. It can't hold together, and there's nothing really in between it. So it would just simply disappear. But what happens? There's still stuff there, right?
Hmm.
Well, on one side you have stuff that can stack almost perfectly because, well, it's not moving, and the only thing that is creating uh attractive and repulsive force is the motion. So you could have, like Mike said on his video the other day, and other people have said many times, if you had a half a cups full of your potential energy in a state of rest, that's enough to boil off all the world's oceans. That's enough energy to boil off the oceans, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of the old moniker on that one, and uh, that's why, is because it's the still that's able to have that huge potential, and the only thing that you need to do to unleash that huge potential is to be able to allow it to be still, and then to invite something in to agitate it. And if you're able to hold that still in a still position while agitating it at points, well, then you're going to create an excess of energy. And that is your 0 point axis.
Well, it's like in a single coil when you create the null in the center, right? You get the vortexes coming in, they're creating the compression. The
Hmm.
compression's agitating the null. And every time that it compresses and continues to do this to it, it aggravates it even more. So
Hmm.
it acts like radiation. So it pushes it in and it boom, it balloons out in a big energy like that. So as long as you know, hey, as long as you can find it and can build the null, which is not that hard, as long as you know how, you build it, and then once you do, you have to compress it, and then you can get the energy to come out. That
Absolutely.
that that's how it works. That's how you get the 0 point to come out. So you use the energy, because
And
otherwise you
that's the
wouldn't be
whole
able to.
point, right? So when you're able to, and this goes right back into what we were saying earlier, another time too, about like this ground state as well, right? Where it's got to return to normalize, right? So that is a lower energy state with a higher potential, and that's the thing to understand there. When the energy states are very, very low, you could fit more, right? The more you could fit, the more potential you have. Now, when you start taking it off, you have an almost unlimited amount to pull from to re-agitate. Now, the thing is that there's no um, discernible energy off of something in a low energy state to that degree, right? There's no discernible energy off of it. So, what do you measure? Well, you measure nothing. See, and
Well,
if you go to
nothing
measure,
in the
you might get a small measurement because now you've disturbed it by virtue of measuring it. You see, there's no way to measure that, and if you were to take a measurement, you'd see it's as close to zero as possible. Okay, but the fact is that as soon as you start bringing it back into the equation, that potential becomes usable energy again. That's sort of the idea here. And this is
well,
why cavitation is so important, by the way, because it's that compressive pulse state that's able to that is the mechanism of keeping the still. You have to be able to keep it squeezed together, because what happens when you let something expand? Well, when you start to let it expand, now it's got room, now it's moving, now it's not still anymore. So you need to have it packed, and that well needs to stay full. The system needs to stay full, and it needs to stay in a state of compression. because as soon as it decompresses, well, now all of a sudden there's motion allowed, and that's sort of the deal.
Well, once you create it, okay, after you get it started, it's already in a compression state. You need to pump it to get that movement to go faster around it.
Mhm.
Because the vortex, you need it to go faster and faster on both sides. It
Mhm.
needs to go out faster, it needs to come back in faster. That's what gives you the higher energy, because now you have more compressive force. So say if it started out this size, you want it to compress down a little bit to this size, because then it's going to want to burst its energy out, and it's going to burst it out in the form of radiation, most likely, which is going to have energy everywhere inside of it. And that's where you need to have an extra, what I mean, environment where you can lock it in. It's going to be very important there, but you're going to tap that 0 point right there. One thing I do like about crystals and the way you did yours, if we had the right frequency, is that it would have that extra state on the outside.
Mhm.
It would give it a real, I don't want to say it, it's the prism on the inside, and it keeps it in there. You know what I mean? That's what I like about that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of things to like, but uh, all the principles taste the same exact thing, which is that the equilibrium is in a constant state of chase and mix,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's the anode cathode relationship, and we've referred to that continuously. And the interesting thing, like that we said about the anode cathode relationship, if you want to think about it in this context more so, is that it this whole thing of positive and negative, as far as like how an electrician would think about it, as a return. That's not the deal here. You might
Mm.
set up certain anode cathode relationships using those two sides of an electrical circuit, in some context. But the fact is that you don't need that. The only thing that you need is for there to be a ratio that exists where one is in a diffuse state and one is in a focused state. Once you have that offset differential, and then they're able to meet each other without connecting in a direct circuit, they have an exchange that occurs between them, and it's this exchange that is the separation, okay, and the mixing of the equilibrium that's enticing the extra energy out of it. So it goes into this exchange, it goes into this equilibrium state. But the thing is, because it's in a chase, it has a pseudo circuit situation that exists, and basically any anode energy, let's say, that makes it to the cathode side, going to grab some electrons and then actually go back. That's how that goes. And then it kind of goes the same way with the other, just in a more diffuse state. So it's very interesting how that happens, because this is the separation, but it's also the mixing.
But the thing is, when we say anode cathode, just make sure everybody understands, you don't physically have to have an anode and cathode.
That's
All,
well, I
all,
said that about the positive and negative. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, just make sure everybody knows this when we say that, because inside of a coil by itself with nothing else around it, you don't have an anode and cathode in there,
No.
but you do have a relationship as an anode and cathode, which creates it. And it's just like two magnets. They have the relationship of it. They call it north and south, or positive and negative, but it also is the same relationship with the null. And
Right.
it's
It's
creating that
polarity.
same,
It's a
yeah.
it's a it's a polarity relationship. And it's the same as a magnetic polar relationship, where you have attractive and repulsive forces that occur depending on what's present and where it is. And that's
Hmm.
the key. What's present and where it is. And like with Rav, well, how does Rav form? Well, Rav forms in that same weird spot of a magnetic field, okay, where it is both in a attractive and repulsive state at that point. It's both pushing off and from both sides, so it's just simply where it is. And that's why it occurs where it does, is because that's where the equilibrium state is offset.
And
That's where it locks.
by the way, let's just say this in the RAB, in the AC flyback that it uses, it continuously goes back and forth between the positive and negative. And if you saw the coil like this, it'd be like a little guide on it that goes like this. It tells you where it's at all times. It's always in flux. It goes back and forth and back and forth. And it comes in like this. Okay, so if I took these two lines here and here, and I just made that the bottom, and I took the anode and cathode and used them as two anodes, 1 and 2, then it's a relationship between the two. So as that thing fluxes, this one gets brighter, then this one gets, you know what I mean? Just like this, it'll start doing this because the actual core of it here is fluxing back and forth. This is, I forget the physics term that names this, but it says that your negative is not always your negative. Your negative can become your positive, and your positive becomes your negative. That's the exact system that goes on in this.
Yeah, and what does it have to do with? It has to do with mass. And it almost always does, because again, the energy does not manifest but for matter being analogous or analingus, as we like to say, to
I misspelled
matter.
it one time. So funny.
Oh, you'll never live that one down. That was the best mistake anybody's ever made. What the hell is Joe talking about? Why is he talking about?
I gave the definition to Sean for both of them and said, don't misspell it. It comes out very bad for it. Oh.
Anyway, what I liked that was brought up by Robert on Monday, and I've been a huge and major proponent of this. It was a huge part of everything that I've been saying since day one, right? It's the dimensionality of all this, right? And the relevance, right? It's a zero dimension. Okay, cool. When I was talking about that white paper before, right? In the video, that's what I was talking about, zero dimension. Because like I said, right, if everything still stops moving, it all just falls apart. Like it doesn't disintegrate, it literally disappears. Period. It's unusual to think about, but that's the reality of it. That said, and then the observer effect, right? Because as soon as you have an observation, well, now you can't have still anymore, because there has to be something, okay, to observe. And that something is enough to create a perturbation. And that single perturbatory wave is enough to sit there. It's like in the song that I wrote, like basically, once one piece falls, the rest of the pieces fall in to fill it. And then that creates more gaps, and leaving, the gaps where they were, and then all their stuff falls in to fill it. It's a cascading effect. So everything basically that would come in from one small disturbance of it manifests everything in front of it, everything. Yeah, so it's quite incredible.
So
quite incredible.
It also answers the question: is the cosmos in a state of expansion and contraction? And the answer is both. It's continuously in both. So if you think about it, you have to have some kind of a pump in the center of a null zone in order to pull the energy out. Therefore, it must pump back and forth. So it's always in a state of expansion and contraction. That's why the scientists can't figure it out, because the answer is just both. It's always doing it based on the nature of how you're building the center point of the entire cosmos out, and how the energy comes back.
It's funnier than that, actually, I think. And I could be wrong, but it's funnier than that. It's not that they can't figure it out. It's that they think it's something other than it is. And because if you go back to my example about the white page with the black dot on it, right? And then the black dot expands and expands and expands and is blasting outward. What is that? It's the Big Bang, man. See what I mean? But what does that mean? Well, let's start tying things together neatly. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just giving my thoughts to spur yours, right? If the center of something is able to create a still, okay, and you go through that center,
and then you come out the other side. Then it was still until it's not. And once it's not still, there's a great expanse. And what is that expanse? It is diffusion, right? Well, that is the Big Bang, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, right? So you could tie it back to a single point where the still was disturbed and look at it as a point, and then watch how that point ever greatly expands. It's literally the Big Bang. But what is it really? All it really is that all that potential going into a state of expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say that it ever stopped? I think that that's sort of the key to it, to a certain degree. Like, I don't know particularly that it was an event as much as it is something that's ongoing. And when you look back, you're always going to see the same single point.
Okay, so let's just put this into terms people can understand. So when we build the bottom of the RAV, we're building basically a seed. And when you pump the energy into it, it folds it back upon itself and creates the inside, which is a null zone. Therefore, if you're saying that you started with a seed and then every time that it grows enough to expand to the next level, then it is growing at that point in time. So you have a big bang every once in a while when you expand to the next level, and then the next level and the next level, but they'll always pump inside and out in order to create the pump continuously going. Is that what you're saying?
It pretty much is. It'd be like a pulse state drip more than anything. Now, what's the rate of that drip? What's the rate of that pulse? Like, these things may be way beyond our current understanding of those sorts of things, right? So, maybe that drip is many, many more lifetimes of ours, or many millions or billions of years, right? That drip happens, but it's still in potentially a pulse state if it's at a lower frequency level, which it has to be, right? Isn't that the point? If it's in a super still state and then it's being introduced, we know that it's hyper low frequency, much lower than anything that we could necessarily perceive, like in any reasonable way.
Okay, so you have to add entropy. Okay, so you're going to add heat along with the frequency. And as soon as you do that, you lower the frequency. So it turns out to be a beat frequency that goes on throughout the entire cosmos. And then you have a high frequency on the outside of everything as it expands. So if you look at the core of the Earth, you're going to get a beat frequency that's very low in the hertz. And if you look at the outer part of Earth, you're going to be looking at a very high frequency, probably in the megahertz or kilohertz range. So what it's telling you throughout the entire solar system is we work on a beat frequency. Once you compress the energy, it's going to heat. That's one of the fundamental natures of it. That's why you have entropy in it. It's going to heat. So then it goes throughout the entire cosmos and creates that relationship in every single sun. So every time that it creates the expansion level of another area where it has a sun, it grows. Every time. You keep adding, it grows. Keep adding, it grows, right? It always comes back to the source. But that means that the edge of our solar system is not the edge every day. It's only the edge for now.
So now it begs all sorts of other weird questions, right? So if you know that hydrogen is energy like matter, right?
Mhm.
And you know that because of its simplicity, you're able to put it into the greatest states of compression, right? So it's small, so you could fit a lot of high potential into a very small area. Well, in terms of ambient energy, the still being disturbed, right? Trying to break down matter, right? Breaking the black down to gray, right? Isn't this what we're saying? Breaking black down to gray. Bringing that matter back into an energy state, right? So anytime that there's going to be a lot of hydrogen in something, the energy from the ambient environment, okay, is going to attack the hydrogen. It has nothing to do with anything else. So, like,
The fact that the sun fires up and you're getting an energy return through radiation off of it, okay, is not a function of the physical matter of the celestial object. Okay, it is a relationship that exists between the matter, the entropy, and the disturbance that it creates at those high density levels in with the environment because of the high differential offset. And that's the thing that we see in entropy all the time, right? Is that if you look at the map, there's zones of very, like very, you know, low entropy and zones of very high entropy. So it's like splotchy. But then if you look at it from very far back, it does look more like even, but you still see the splotches of basically hot and cold that exist. Well, all that is that, if there's whether there's a lot of matter in a high density state there where the entropy is low, at that point. And that's why it goes into a state of attack to break it down into a state of high entropy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's this ongoing relationship that's omnipresent. Once you understand it, and then you can see it in the system, like what we're talking about, what we're working on, but then also just understand how this exchange works by and large. That's it. And it's like I've said, energy does not manifest but for matter. So
check this out. I'm going to relate this to topics of today. I did a video this morning about the 3i Atlas, right? And it's coming to the solar system and it acts different than a comet. What? Because it's not a comet. And I'll just say it for what it is. You see all the pictures on it and everything, and I can see the color structure matches exactly what we have on the RAV when we do the infrared test on it. And it's the same thing they're doing out there to check the temperatures on it. And it's showing the same structure. And why? It's because it's acting the same way. And let me qualify that for you, okay? If it is structured plasma on the inside of it, okay, and it works on frequencies, what's going to happen when it comes to the solar system? Well, it's going to pick up the beat frequency of the sun itself, okay? And every time that it does that, it's going to pulse. Well, when it pulses, what is it doing? It's increasing the frequency just a little bit when you go in the amplitude of it, and then it'll expand and contract a little bit, just like this. So what does that do? It changes the color. So you can get it when it's in a high level next to the sun to change the two colors. You can go from green to blue, and it'll act like it's pulsing on both sides of it, just like this, every time. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's created a relationship with the sun itself because of the same thing. You're dealing with resonance. This is how resonance works, okay? It's not this vibrating mysterious substance. No, it has to do with frequency, and it's frequency based, okay? But it has to do with resonance frequency. Both things are in resonance. Both things will start to pulse and create the beat frequency between the two of them, okay? And once they do that, you'll start seeing strange things. It won't have a tail because it's not ice. It's not ice burning off. That's not what's going on here.
That's not what's going on.
Right. You're going to pull a nuclear signature on it because it's fusion. Anytime that you have structured plasma, you have fusion. So it's going to look like there's a fusion reactor in there. Now, what's the problem with it? If you have light source coming out of it, you have a major radiation problem that is not a ship. See, a ship has to contain that radiation inside of it, inside the core. Therefore, it disqualifies it being a ship, but it qualifies it in being resonant plasma. You see, that's the thing, the trick that's going on here. Now, what does that do to each planet as it comes by? If it's creating a relationship with the sun itself and dealing with the beat frequency between the two, all the sun has a relationship to every planet and the beat frequency of the planet. But now you're introducing a different source. So what happens? What happens if you amplify the sun? If that thing comes through and it's amplifying the sun at all, it's going to change the beat frequency in any planet. So what could happen? We could go from 7.83, which I believe is the beat frequency of our planet, not the resonance frequency. And I believe it can increase that or decrease that in each planet that it comes out to as this thing goes to the solar system for a short amount of time. When I say short amount of time, it might be in solar cycles or something like that, which means we go through the age of Aquarius and whatever the next one is. So we deal with a change in our structure of our solar system where the actual temperatures on the planets increase for, you know what I mean, whatever the cycles are, and then they'll decrease back to normal and going back around, and it'll continue to happen. What does this mean for our planet? Floods, earthquakes. It means the volcanoes start going off and becoming active. All those things could possibly happen, and it seems to follow in Hopi tradition that that's actually what's going on the earth, and it's happened before, and it's going to continue to happen again because this thing comes to our solar system continuously.
You know, I agree with what you just said, and I kind of it's sort of one of those things that I wish I didn't. You know, like it tends to be like agreeing with people is great, except for when it's like kind of cataclysmic and it's nature. But uh, so be it. You can only really worry about the things in your control. So say la vie.
Well, we can't stop it now.
No. Yep.
Yeah.
Dales wrote a song about that. It was called Pig. Nothing can stop me now
Yeah.
because I don't care anymore. That's that.
Then it says Purple Rain.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, that thing is strange though, and prime example of just matter interacting with ambient energies and uh, how everything has its own um, contribution and how everything's ultimately connected. It really is like ripples in the sea. At the end of the day, you throw stones here, there. There's going to be some kind of point in time where there's a culmination of all of that interference at one spot where it's the amplitude is going to go through the roof, right?
Okay, so check this out. I'm gonna throw this at you in the middle of the sentence. I know, and you're going somewhere, but the Day of the Dead. Okay, first time Umama, whatever the name is for that thing, was first seen in our solar system. That thing was a precursor of the three-eye atlas. Okay, things coming from outside our solar system into it. It leads up because you look at it in the dates that they keep coming up with. There's cycles in there where the moon was covering the earth and you could see behind the sun. Okay, not moving over the earth. Sorry, there was a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, and you can see behind the sun. You can see this thing coming into our solar system. Okay, it did it twice in 1 year. Okay, then you had the Day of the Dead. The day you can actually see it behind the sun was right there. They called this thing down to a T, the Mayan calendar. All of it coincides. You go to the Black Pyramidum on the right side of it in Egypt. Okay, in the museum, it's right there. None of this was by chance. They knew it was coming through our solar system, and they tried to tell us in every way they knew how. If they could speak English, it'd say, "Look here, effer, it's right here." Okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Isn't that how it goes? They were very wise of their time, and it's rough because the most dangerous thing that humanity could become, is thinking that you got a handle on things, thinking that you know what's going on, and then you know not basically like writing everything else off because you think you know better. And that's sort of what we do all the time. I mean, I say we, but you know what I mean. It's like you disregard everybody else as like, they didn't know shit back then or whatever. Or like, we don't see the context or the relevance because they didn't say the specific words. Or if they did, we didn't understand it. Right. So we got to be the more intelligent people at this point in time, when it's very quite possible that other civilizations have already been through this and documented it. I mean, at the end of the day, I might agree with you, but I hope you're wrong. And I think that that's fair.
I hope I'm wrong too.
Yeah, but even if you're not wrong, like, maybe like we'll get lucky or something. It's possible. Possible. Anything's possible. But I don't know.
Well,
Like, I don't really pay that thing any attention personally. But
okay, so
whatever.
check this out. We know that the Schumann resonance messes with our body. If we're out of contact with it, we have troubles as human beings. Okay,
Oh yeah.
they've done different surveys and stuff like that where they put people in boxes and removed it. It's very bad for the person. So what happens if that changes? So Schumann resonance changes. We're at 7.83. What if it goes to 8.5 or 9 something?
I think that we're already kind of in that range. I think that that's sort of what I've heard.
Well, in the Hopi tradition, they say that that's going to be the next dimension. So we're going to enter an age of resonance that's probably more in line with the chemical structure in our brain, so that we start to see reality as it is,
Yeah.
not as we think it is.
Yeah, I saw something interesting the other day, and it had to do with physical, perception and like vision specifically,
Mhm.
right? And they were saying that when they track the evolution of animals, since animals have had eyes all the way through the current times, right? That we've gone through these different stages of being like almost near colorblind entirely, and then starting to develop cones, rods, and stuff that are able to pick up on more wavelengths. And then time goes on, usually an event, and then you lose that ability, and then through time it starts to gain up again. And they were saying the same things about humans as well. That maybe even as recently as 10 or 20,000 years ago, humans might have been largely colorblind entirely, only for us to then become dichromatic and trichromatic, and now, so some people are like tetrachromites, so there's like a lot of interesting and fascinating things that just have to do with our physical perception, right? But what does that mean for the rest of our senses and our minds, and the ability to connect to? Um, they say esoterically, right? Like there's like the thinning of the veil and that sort of thing, right? I mean, if you think about it, if the veil gets thinner and you're able to perceive more, then realistically, that would be a state of evolution at that point.
Okay, so let me just throw something out there for you. Ken looks into the magnets, right? And he created this solution that was mouse juice and blood.
Mouse
And
choosing what?
blood. So
Okay.
the mouse juice is like a WD-40. Okay.
Okay.
It's just a thick, viscous material that actually loosens bolts. Okay. And then a little bit of blood in there, I would imagine, for the pigment of the red. Okay. So what it able to do is it allows you to see a magnetic field.
Mhm.
So what if the frequency change, all it did was add another layer to our eye or change the viscosity inside the eye, so that now when we look at things, we can start to see the field around them. And that would follow into, you know what I mean? We're perceiving things differently. We can see things for what they actually are. Because if I looked at you and I saw the field around you, you would look completely different than you do now. Like I would see you, but I'd see a field around you because I'm able to see it now. Now I
Right.
can perceive it because maybe now my physical structure allows for that. That's the evolution I would see going on. Is it something physically manifests in order to do something to show us like a blue light does? When you look through blue light and you look through the blurry lens and stuff like that, or the viscous material with the blue, lens itself, it gives you the color, plus it gives you that extra viscosity you need in your eyeballs in order to see it, and you can start to see other things in there. So we're not that far off of some of this stuff. We're just out of phase with it right now. We're just a hair off.
Well, I mean, even to build on that just a little bit, I mean, we've discussed ad nauseum how different types of elements, for instance, start to accumulate and structure at certain frequencies. Uh, some, and then you bring into the equation the thing that we discussed the one time about how they can use oscillation and frequency to actually entice blood cells, iron-rich blood cells, right, to structure in different ways to then create hormones that the blood cells do not natively produce. Just by structuring them differently with different frequency through standing wave patterns, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you start to take into account a change in, Schumann's resonance, but then also an evolution of the resonance that we're exposed to, um, just naturally, whether it be transmutive in its nature or just through environmental accumulation and structuring over time, things that we may generally flush out may start to hang around, find its place, start to structure, and make new connections that we've never had before, just simply because it's able to in the field that we're exposed to. And it's super fascinating and way out there to think about. I mean, all this stuff is highly speculative, highly speculative. But I mean, none of the components that go into it are foreign or unproven or really even fringe science. It's all proven science, but when you start to correlate it big picture, starts to actually be pretty eye-opening.
I want to throw this out there. Limited State sent me a thing a little while ago on Facebook, and it had to do with music and frequency, but it's how it creates those little dots. So if you had the RAV in the center, it shows you how the rings are built on the outside,
Mhm.
but then it starts to show you that little one. You know what I mean? And then it starts to show you when you get 4 or when you have 2 or where they're positioned at. Okay. It was the most interesting video. I wish I had time to watch the entire thing. I got to watch the beginning of it. But it was telling you something about the frequencies that you're building out at. So we may be building out one with a single point next to the RAV, but when we start to change the actual frequency and the sound of it, it may be very well that you're going to be building out more than that. And I think we saw 2 at one point when Sean was doing it. And I think there was a frequency changing happening when he was doing it. It was like amplifying, and it would be there and then would go away. So I think there's a lot to say about that. I sent the video to you and Sean so you guys can watch it too.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll check that out. Okay, so I had this random thought today when I realized we were going to revisit this. And I realized that when I was talking about that piece of paper in the dot, right, that was as two-dimensional of an example as you could possibly get. And we obviously know that the dimensionality of it is just far greater. And then after that example, I had actually given the same exact example in a totally different light, okay?
Okay.
Which was the snow globe, right?
Okay.
And I said, suppose that the snow globe is the whole, right, of everything, okay, and it's going to fall all the snow right into the center. All of it is going to fall into the center because that's the gravity point, right? That's where everything's going to go. Whether it's up, down, or whatever in your perception. And what do we realize, right? You have the whole, the sum of the whole, but then you have it breaking down into a diffuse state, right? So it's breaking down and it's falling and it's in a less dense state than it was at its surface. Okay. But then it reaches this point where there's this like threshold that occurs where it no longer is going into a diffuse state. Right now, it's falling closer to the center. It's past that mark, right? And now it's coming into a high. It's increasing in its density. So there's this inverse thing that occurs where it's dense where it is, and as soon as it starts to fall in bits and pieces, falling down, it becomes more diffuse. until it starts to become greater, less diffuse again toward the center where it reculminates. And that's sort of like the example, and how to get your head around this in like earth terms, right? Is if you think about us sitting on the surface of the earth, and then you think about a cloud above your head, okay, that is snowing, right? Now that cloud could be a certain size. Like you could go up there and measure it, right? And then you could place it on the relevant piece of earth, and that's how much space it takes up, right? But the fact is that there is an offset differential because of the difference in the surface area. So a cloud that's however many feet above you, right, and is large, okay, actually only like any snow falling from that cloud must fall at a higher density when it hits the surface than it is up in the cloud because of the difference in the surface area. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Like that, and that's sort of the point. So you could have on the cloud two snowflakes leaving different spots that are, far apart, but then, if they were to fall to the surface, their point of, where they actually hit is always going to be the same, let's say, because of the size difference. So it's this differential that makes this huge difference when it comes to the densities, and the densities have everything to do with the relationships that exist. If you got a foot of snow on the ground, on the surface, if you were to take the surface area of the cloud that dropped it, you wouldn't have a foot of snow, right? That's if everything was fixed in place. Of course, I'm using, very fake, examples here, but
Gotcha.
yeah, you wouldn't have a foot of snow. You'd have an inch of snow or whatever it is.
Gotcha. Sorry, I'm looking for something, Joe, right now. Sean sent us the pyramid that he did.
Might not have caught that one yet.
You didn't see that one yet?
I don't think so.
Oh man. Okay.
No better time than now.
Oh yeah. So hold on, I'm gonna bring up a picture real quick and show you this here. Now take a look at that, and I'll play the video where it comes up at. But I just wanted to see this. It's an actual pyramid on top with a cylinder on the bottom that contains high voltage. So it looks cool because the energy comes from the top, goes into the pyramid, and then goes down the shaft underneath it. So when we saw all those pyramid pictures where they had those big shafts underneath.
The shafts, yeah. You could see it coming down in beams.
Yeah, so now I'll find that thing real quick for you.
What is the pyramid exactly?
The pyramid is...
I mean,
no, he actually, it was really cool. He cut this thing out of clay.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I think I have it here right now. That's just cool looking, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep, doing its regular thing. It's trying to be like, go around. Ah,
Look at that.
there it goes.
So beautiful looking. Did you notice how thick that plasma is coming down before it?
Yeah, I see it right now. And multiple rabs just popping up.
It finally found where it wanted to go.
Right, and it's actually climbing the pyramid because it knows where it wants to be. That's actually wild.
So let me download this so we can look at it in detail and slow it down.
So I have an explanation for this right off the bat.
Okay, well, go ahead and give the explanation why I pulled this real quick.
Sure. So once the rav formed, okay, like the way that the geometry of the pyramid works, okay, is inverse of what Sean was originally trying to do. So he has the focused energy, being the anode in this case, right? Trying to go to the top. And focused energy comes out of a pyramid, not into it through the top. Okay. So it went off to the side where it was able to reach its state to be able to form, which is super cool, first of all. Then once it was formed, okay, it always is going to look for and travel to its spot where the feed potential is the greatest, which is exactly why it channels the way that it does. Okay, so it already knows this because it is pulling the you know other potential out of it. It goes and then goes to the spot that it knows that it's the most concentrated, which is at the tip. And then once it's sitting at the tip, if you were able to actually see what was going on the other side, you would see the exchange, and the exchange would be diffusing out from the greater surface area to the top and feeding it in a very effective way. Let's put it that way.
So let's say this. He's got the anode on the top. The cathode is the bulb on the bottom, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this matches the Earth. You see, it didn't need to be, how do I say this? You don't need to see the anode and cathode. You just need the high voltage potential up here and the magnetic potential down here in order to create it. But it's telling you what the Great Pyramid actually does when you put the tip on it. It's telling you the energy is coming down. It's pulling it down from the atmosphere. It's not going up. We're not shooting it to aliens in space. It's coming down from the atmosphere and going down through the tube into the water table.
Yeah, but it's also feeding out the top too from the Earth's potential, which is that's the draw. So that is the spire that pulls the lightning bolt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an artificial spire at that point pulling the lightning bolt down. Now, whether or not you could even see it is secondary to whether or not it's there and doing it, right? Organite works off of the same concept.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Look at how fast that turned into that higher dimensional plasma. Let me just rewind it. So he just starts it.
Now, if you were to put a conductor at the top,
it's immediate.
Then it would be instantaneous. Now you could see it heating the tip there, which is interesting too, because the anode is the hot side.
Mm-hmm.
That's what more proof do you need than that? You could see the energy getting pulled up. It's not that it's going through; it's that it's getting pulled up in an excited state because of the draw. It's the draw that's making it in an excitation. It's not the energy coming out of the anode. It's the draw from the anode.
It's pulling it down.
No, that's awesome. Sean thinks that's some cool stuff. That's a good idea. Though I will say that tip looks like it's getting friggin' ripe, man.
Oh yeah. So let's go back to that. This right here is just the ultimate, like, if you ever wanted to know how that pyramid works, here you go. Energy's pulled down, right through the pyramid, right into the water table. Exactly where it needs to connect. So cool.
Yeah. Well, now flood the basement and put a resonant chamber in there. You know what I mean? What would you have then? You'd have huge amplification events.
That's right. No, because if you do it like the pyramids they showed in Egypt, and they showed all of them in there, There's more than one. So you have like what, 4 of them? So in between all 4 of them, and if they're exactly the same, you're going to get a beat frequency between all of them, and you're going to expand the energy distance. And if I'm right, and they have thousands of pyramids all over the planet, and this is what they did, well, guess what? Energy was everywhere. It was in the water. It literally in the water table at that point,
It
where
was
you
in the
could
water
go.
table. It was also in the atmosphere too, in a pulse state. It was in inverse pulse state between the earth and the air.
Yeah. So hold on, but this explains. Okay, just gonna remove this for a second. It explains one wire energy in the bulb hieroglyph. Okay, there's only one wire going to it, and it looks like a lily flower because it went to the water, and it just pulled the water up to it, and it excited it in the light bulb. All it needed was gas inside the bulb. That was it. That was literally the only thing it needed. It didn't need energy as AC and DC. This is how the energy worked back then. The energy was pulled down by the pyramid, goes into the water table, just like I could walk around and stick a light bulb right into the ground. It lights up everywhere, just like Tesla told you in Colorado.
And it's like, come here, Tutankhamun, come fart into this jar for me. You know, like
Can you imagine that? Now you got it in my head. Somebody's blowing glass and this guy's blowing gas and he's going, light it up, buddy. You know what I mean? Seal
like me
it.
and my like me and my friend in this car, like back in high school. I lit one up while he was driving. He goes, "Oh my God, you'll never do that again."
Do you think that would work? Oh my God. Okay. This is so bad. If you took a Ziploc baggie, could you open it up, go like this in the car and get that in there and seal it? Would it work? I
I
wonder if
mean,
you could light that
honestly,
up.
listen, methane is a hydrocarbon, so it's probably not what you're
Oh,
going to want to illuminate. But you know, usually that results in combustion because of things and problems. But whatever.
that would have been so great if you literally could contain that right away and then make it light. Dude, I would do that all day on my channel.
Yeah, but it would never work because unfortunately the processes that we talk about, by virtue of everything that we discuss, especially today of all times, okay, that's why it shreds hydrocarbons. It shreds hydrocarbons into its constituents. So,
I know, I could dream.
yeah, I know. But guess what? Thunderstorm generator, that's what they said it did, and that's what it did. So, I mean, again, I don't know about it being transmutive, if that's what they're considering transmutation, but whatever, like break
Fart
down the hydrocarbons,
fluorescence.
bring them Hemis back, burn the dinosaur, rot and call it a day.
Yeah, look at that. Fart fluorescence. I love that. That'd be
Mhm.
awesome. Oh man. Sorry. Man, I shook this cold. I just can't get rid of the cough. So
Yeah, you seem to be in better spirits though, man. You were having a rough time for a couple days there.
oh dude, yeah, it was bad. No, because they hit you hard, man, and fast. And it just took you down overnight. It's like one day you're fine, the next day, man, can't stop your nose from leaking. And then the next day you're coughing up everything that was leaking. And
Gosh,
yeah, dude, it's a disaster.
yeah, no good, no good. Well, glad to see you're doing better nonetheless.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I'm gonna put this back up there, man, because we gotta look at this some more. I just sorry, I'm gonna watch this again. I love the fact that it goes purple like that, and you can just see it.
Yo, that is a fat rod of friggin' anode arc, right there.
Oh yeah, I concentrated the energy a lot right there. Dude, that's such a cool picture. I gotta
Yeah.
take that and put it on a reel and play it over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Just to get it to like a longer length, because I think that's so awesome.
That really is. I mean, listen, that thing is like you know, it's like an after sex peace stream. Terrible.
Oh man.
I know. We make physics fun and dirty. All right. Very cool. Yeah, no, man. There's a lot to explore with that. That's super fascinating. I think what's going on underneath it is just as interesting. But if the pyramid shape, I mean, given by the size of that Rav, um, it seems like the pyramid's doing an effective job at this exchange. Which makes total sense as to why it would. So I think that's awesome. It's a great idea.
Oh yeah, yeah. How do I say this? It also works with the material that you're looking at. You know what I mean? So if you would have went limestone on the outside, Sean's been doing experiments with limestone,
Oh yeah,
and it was showing that it created the Rav just fine. So I'd imagine it'd create this just fine as well. But you soak the limestone and keep it wet at all times of the wick effect from the water coming, from the ground up into the pyramid. I'm sure it'll be awesome. But I wonder what that looks like if you get it all to light up. You know what I mean? You see the purple at night. That had to be what they see at night. You know what I mean? They knew the energy was flowing. During the day, you probably couldn't see much. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I mean, honestly, it's I don't really know, but the, this screams to me. I mean, damn, if you're gonna do it this way, just get a piezoelectric going on in there too. So you can really really kind of get the excitation energy levels up at that point. Although my experience with that has been that it that blows up your stuff because kind of overloads your system.
I told you, put it in water.
You did. Yeah, I'm gonna rebuild it this week. You know, I told you I got a bunch going on and whatnot. So, but I'm gonna, I was so reluctant to just because of the frustration that's caused after blowing it after 2 minutes. And I'm so meticulous putting it back. In like I strip all I strip all like the wire shrink wrap off of it, and then I put all new shrink wraps on, and I clip the ends, and I give myself a new end. Like I do everything all nice. It takes like more than 10 minutes to do it nice. It takes like
Hmm.
maybe a half an hour or something between taking it apart, putting it back together, and then to have it blow up again and be like, oh man, now I need to order more transistors. Yeah, that sucks. So
Hey, I got a drawer full of them. Wait till you get to ZVS's boards, and then you blow them out into 2 seconds, and then you're like, okay, now I got a stack of $40 boards sitting here, man, and oh, that really gets frustrating because
wait, so I know you told me, I'm sorry to cut you off, but what do I put in water to prevent that? What am I putting in water?
the one that comes from the center of your Tesla coil, put it in the water so it has a bigger area, a bigger volume.
That's been the case.
You had it in like a separate bucket of water.
I
Like
mean, it
give it.
wasn't high volume, but maybe I need to up the volume of the water. But I'm also not looking to create too much of an offset of the differentials either. So it's like, I don't know. If I add a conductive plate, that might be enough too. That would add a lot of mass because I was just doing it in a plastic lid before. So that would probably add a lot.
Yeah, you need something that's going to act like a diode effect.
Mhm.
I mean, a snubber would do it, which is a diode on your coil itself. It comes back and it stops it from flowing backwards into the circuit.
See, the thing is, okay, stubborn, okay, because I have a hunch that it's not blowing it up from the cathode center side. I think it's blowing it up from the anode side. That's why
Yeah, because it puts pressure back on it.
putting pressure back on it, and that can't go in the water, else it won't work. So
Mm, yeah. Let me think about it. Maybe let me run a few tests on mine. Maybe I can come up with an answer for
I
you.
mean, to be straight with you, it could go in water, and you damn well know it. Like I could put a water barrier in between them,
Or you
but
could
then I'm going to lose a lot on the output. I think.
buy a $30 transistor and run this thing at 60 volts.
I have no idea
That's
I have no idea what it's running at because it's like you said, what you set it at is not what it's running at. And
yeah.
in these amplification events, I mean, I might be running it at 35 or something or close to 40, but like I have no idea what it's actually running at. Like thing doesn't tell you that.
I think you're closer to 50, to be honest with you.
Mm.
And let me test out that new transistor I got it coming in, and then if it works at a higher number, then you know what I mean. I'll tell you which one it is, and that
Yeah,
way, that way you can run at a much higher level. But I think that's going to work because I'm having problems with the AC. Sean sent us a video, so we're going to check it out. But basically, what we're talking about, guys, just so you understand, is we're looking at 230 volts is basically the transistor I use, and that comes with about 10 amps or something like that you can run it at. So it's always a value difference. You know what I mean? It goes back and forth depending on how much heat you have in your circuit. So you're not getting 230 out of it, and you're not getting 10 amps out of it. You're getting 8 to 9 amps out of it, and then you're getting 40 volts. Okay, is what that transistor will do. So we found one that's rated at, what was it, 800 volts, but then 30 amps. So I would imagine you can get 10 to 20 more volts out of it once you put all those factors in there, which means for your experiment, it worked perfect. That way you can go to the max on that power source and still run it. And the reason I was trying to find this thing is because I've been blowing up my AC circuits a lot in these bipolar Tesla coils. Because there's no grounding to it, there's no pushback from the ground, it just fries it. So
I think another thing I might be able to do also, for what it's worth, and I've played with different types of anode materials, is I was using a copper anode. Now, bear that in mind. That's highly, highly conductive. So, it's going to have a lot more potential for reverse flow. But like if I were to use like a graphite one, like one of these guys, like out of a pencil, you know what I mean? Then I think that it would probably have a much harder time getting back up there. Maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Variables.
Yeah, Sean says that one's sick. It is. I hope I found a good one. So I hope they did, because $26 for one at the low end is still a lot of money. So it better work well.
It is, but I'll tell you what, if it lasts a bit longer, you know what I mean? Like realistically, it's only got to last 3 times longer than a regular one to be worth it. Because
you're right.
They're basically $10 a clip anyway. So
yeah, if it can max out your power source without killing the whole system, then yeah, you're right. It's 100% worth it. Okay, let's take a look. Sean got a new camera, and he wants us to see the pictures of this. He's going to do a RAV and show us his new camera.
Awesome. Tripod 2, I hope, Sean. Breaking chops. All right. That looks good.
I love that ring that shows up around that.
Yeah. Very cool.
And that's on the, hey, that's also on the pyramid.
It is.
Right at the top. I wasn't paying attention. Did he start at the top?
What I wonder is what the heat diffusion looks like on the tip afterwards, because it does look like the tip's getting pretty hot. And just the way that it's building large on a very small tip. And obviously that means that you're creating a large difference in surface area. So there's going to be a lot of concentration directly on the tip of the heat. And I just wonder what the, how much of it's actually putting onto it. Oh, well, that wasn't on the tip. That was on the side. But you could still see it's red hot.
Oh, dude, hold on. I'm sorry, Sean. Sean said this is a wrong video, but I want to show something. Look at the size of this thing. Okay. So look at the size of the RAV. Look at the shaft down below. I think he's running a, God, it looks like a 1/2 inch shaft. Maybe it's a quarter in plastic.
Looks like a 1/2 inch tube to me, yeah.
He's getting at least a 1/2 inch RAV out of this thing, which normally his RAVs are very small. They're about 1/8 of an inch. And this one's fairly big with fairly consistent structure. What's up, Mike?
You could tell how big it is because the arc that made it was huge in the first place, and that thing dwarfs the arc. And a lot of times, um, when the Ravs are smaller too, you'll see that there's like a bit of a pinch, so to speak. Like it's round, but it's got like a little bit of a area where it spreads off the arc before it goes into the sphere, right? That's not the case here.
No.
Yeah,
So
that's not the case here.
the ball that he used on the top is the same size as the Rav.
Hmm.
So whatever size that was, he has it. What's up, Crypto?
Well, he said that's like an old school like antenna nub.
Yeah,
So
kind of like the knobs you get. Remember those lamps in the room,
mhm,
and they're from the 70s. They had a little knob on the end of them, and you pull them.
mhm.
That's where I'd find that stuff right there. But he says it's like a hollow inside. So let me pull this down because I don't know if we were supposed to see that one. Let me put it on this one. And maybe that thing. Hold on, we'll get a good size comparison here then. See that one? Okay, there it is. This is the new camera. Sorry, Sean. So put things into perspective. That bottom is a paper clip, so it couldn't be a half inch. It's got to be smaller.
Mm.
Well, no, it's gotta
Yeah,
be
no,
smaller.
it's smaller than that. I don't know. The way that he had it before, it looked bigger, but it's not. That's definitely like a maybe a little under a quarter of an inch then.
Yeah, it's 4K from his new camera, so the picture is actually really clean.
Yeah, no, the pictures look good for sure. It looks
He
like it's
says,
got
"Get
some motion
oh,
stabilization too in there.
hold on." He says there's fractal snow.
I see it down all
Yeah.
the way at the bottom under the glow. It's actually on the glow.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to take a picture of that and screenshot it. Okay, give me a second, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take this down. I'm gonna screenshot this real quick. That's it.
It's weird because that tube looks hot, but if that's what he's saying, that means it's not.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
Okay.
thing you got to be careful about here too. And I made the mistake earlier, but that's why I was saying I wonder about the tip being hot because the tip's glowing, but we usually attribute that glow to heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in situations like this, it's not always the case,
No.
which is interesting, to think about, especially when it persists after the power source goes off. It's like right on the light, man.
Yeah, check that out. It grows, and then when he turns it off, it goes away.
Yep, that's what happens when you separate the black from the white.
That's insane. See what else he's got going on in this picture.
Totally wild.
Yeah, you could barely see the energy coming off this thing, and it looks like there's a second one whipping around it on the left.
Well, I mean that ball has to add like a magnetic component to it, just of how it's shaped. You're going from a straight rod to that sphere, and that's going to change the vectoring of the energy dispersion and the density.
Yeah, I think it makes the rab faster because it puts it into a spin.
Hey, I don't disagree with that, especially if it's hollow. Especially if it's hollow.
Yeah, you got the ghost snow going on this thing. Give me a second. I just I'll take that down. I ran across one that just had snow in it a minute ago. No, maybe it's not. Okay, sorry. So many different videos on there. Anyway, it was just pretty cool how in the beginning we were looking at something and talking about it. Now everything that we're doing is proving out exactly what we were talking about in the beginning. So, yeah, it's all coming true, man. Yeah, my favorite's that pyramid, though. That thing's got me. All right, hold on. Oh, Sean has a better picture than what I had. Okay, hold on. Sean. There we go. How about that, Joe?
Oh well, if that's not apparent.
Oh, that's
It looks
way
like
better.
mushrooms growing off of it, and I said that before. It really reminds me of like mycelium and like stuff like that, which is super interesting. That one on the right is very, very fascinating because it's like they almost like they're growing out definitely fractally, but a couple of them have like this helical type like caduceus element to it. Like as far as its structuring is concerned, which is very fascinating.
They're building out with lattice structure. You
They
know what I mean?
definitely.
Like a snowflake. May not be snow, but it's definitely got a structure to it. What if everything was built this way? That it just grew out of it. You know what I mean? That it grew a structure based on where it's at. So that means that anything out there that has structure to it, which would be every single solid element on our planet, be built like this.
I definitely agree, and again, if this side of it, right, is in the opposite state of the RAV, you know, that's that's going to be the lower energy state, and it seems like to combat that low energy state, you have the accumulation of the matter as if to entice a higher energy state.
I
And like
think
that's sort of what it seems like if you follow the logic from what I was saying earlier, at least.
you hit it on the head. So it comes in hot, breaks apart, okay, goes through the null zone area, comes down, rebuilds itself. This is transmutation as it goes through. It's not changing the element so much as it breaks it completely apart and rebuilds it into something else.
Yeah, what is it? I don't know. But you know what's funny? It's like, and I had this thought before, and I just never put the thought or effort into it. And you know what? Bernie's in the chat. Bernie might have a better idea of this than I would. But whatever has that type of structure, would probably, it'd probably be a good indicator. If you were to look at the microscopic structuring and then scale it up to a macroscopic level, that's sort of what I believe that we're seeing here. So if you find the molecule that looks like that, it's probably what it is.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's so cool. This is stuff you pick up a science magazine and read about. You know what I mean?
Mm. But remember what I said about the energy states before? Right. So if it's creating because like of a low energy state and it's combating a low energy state, right? What happens as soon as it reaches back to an ambient? Well, then it disintegrates. It falls apart into what though? Into nothing. Right. So it doesn't go into a sublimation state. It doesn't go into a melting or a diffuse state. It just like literally falls apart into the bits that it was, and that's it. Unless if you're locking down this lattice structure with compression. So you'd have to compress it to be able to lock in the structure microscopically for it to grow out macroscopically for it to be locked in, right? Isn't that sort of the idea, I guess?
Yeah, well, I guess it's just got to come up with whatever final structure it was going to come to. You know what I mean?
Right, but as soon as it turns off, there's nothing like what's the forces holding it together right now, the fundamental forces, right? Holding it together have a contingency in this case. And the contingency is this being powered on. So as
Well,
soon as you kill the power, it just
okay, so hold on. So Crypto says in his work, and remember he works in electrolysis, so he goes to pure element crystals in the same lattice layering structures and geometry. The difference is whatever bubble he built to build this thing in immediately collapses with instant cold water. It could just be that simple, that it just has to cool down faster. Like, you know what I mean? It's able to suck back in, but what if you instantly cool it? Then it stays in the shape it's at. It would be interesting to find out.
Hmm.
Yeah, if Crypto's getting the crystal structures and Sean's not getting them yet, so where's the difference in the two things? I mean, is it the energy level? Is it the water it's in?
probably frequency.
It's what?
Probably specific frequency.
Yeah, could be.
Specific frequency. I think that's the case because it has to do with standing waves. You need a beat frequency that is going to create a specific cymatic standing wave.
Yeah, we're gonna have to explore this further because the answer to this is the energy to matter conversion.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's as simple as that. And I think between Sean and Crypto, they have it.
And it's funny because it's like it's like two sides of the coin that they have. You know, the breaking apart, the structuring back together and stuff like that. You know, you combine these two methods and watch the mayhem.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. We got a lot of comments in here. Just trying to put them up.
Too hot for magnetism. That's
I don't know if that's true.
I was saying that's interesting. By interesting, I mean I don't know. That's correct. Like I don't know why you would think that, but
Oh, there you go. Water is a controlled environment.
Mm.
It won't let any element get to it.
yeah, it's
may,
it's the phase difference that I've been talking about forever, right? So if
Mhm.
you're creating a bubble through your cavitation, right, you should have it falling out into the bubble, but then when the bubble goes away, it has nowhere to go but into the medium that it's been pushing out at that point, right? So that does make a lot of sense. So, but the beauty of the RAV is that this is one of the only non-intermedium cavitation effects that I know of, not in a vacuum.
Well, if water is the control, how do I say this? Yeah, then it doesn't allow rogue elements to form. There's nothing to destroy it. We're dealing with open air, so we have everything in the environment, right? Everything in the environment sucked back into a vacuum, which is what would be created when the RAV's turned off.
Mm-hmm.
We'd clear all this out, but if that vacuum can't form in the water, guess what happens? Then everything stays.
Well, the vacuum can fall in the water, in the water,
Well,
but it will
you'd be
also
seeing it.
collapse into the water as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm just saying it's not going to. We normally see it suck through and come through a tube at the top, you know what I mean, and create a channel. We're not seeing that in Bernie's experiments, not like that.
Mm. Well, Bernie just said, and in the water, you could add your ionic state elements, thus controlling which additional elements you're able to add in. So because you're able to control the, you know, composition of what's in suspension in the water, you're actually able to entice the states to be able to form because you have full control of what's going in. I believe that's what he's saying.
Yes.
Which they do, right? Also, but they do that in context of they pull a vacuum, and then once the vacuum is pulled, then they have an introduction of specific gas elements, typically, right? That they would then have that control, but the water being the intermedium, holding open a cavitation bubble would yield the same result.
It's like I don't think it's unlike the process of hardening steel. You put it into the water, you know what I mean, or
Oh yeah,
oil, and
yeah,
then
like quenching. Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that.
Well, that has to do with setting the lattice, right? So, and that's a good example though, because right, you anneal steel, you make it softer.
Mm-hmm.
You basically are going to heat it up, hold it at a temperature just to let everything relax. You're going to let it cool down slowly. So when it starts to solidify, it starts to solidify in that relaxed state. Once the relaxed state starts to crystallize, then the relaxed state has to crystallize through the rest of it because it doesn't have the room to contract. Well, there's something solid and expanse, right? So then it follows and starts to crystallize in coherence with what the first crystallization was. When you quench it, it's a whole nother story. You're basically putting everything into a high excitation state. The quench automatically contracts everything, and then it gets frozen in a state of contraction.
Wow. What? Here's I'm gonna throw this out in left field for you, Joe. What if this is actually the answer to ancient samurai swords?
Well,
That
I mean, what about them? Because I know a lot about them, and I know how they make the steel.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the hardening process and the melting process, the heat that's applied to it, isn't what we're thinking. Maybe it's something different.
So traditionally, when you're making Japanese jewel steel, like Tabahagane steel, um, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take clay first off. That's always step number one. You're gonna create a clay crucible more or less, but the crucible also acts as the burn pot in the context, right? So you're gonna build it up sort of like an anthill, and just have it vented on the sides for air. And what you do is you start a charcoal fire, right? Like black charcoal fire. And
Okay.
once you get that raging, you start adding in slowly iron powder. So how would they have done iron powder back when they were originally making samurai swords and stuff? Well, you'd be breaking it out of ore. You'd have trace other elements and stuff in there as well. But really, it would be mostly iron because they would use a magnet and stuff to get most of the impurities out. They added in slowly over basically the course of a whole entire day. So they continuously are shoveling in iron, iron powder, and continuously shoveling in, charcoal to keep the temperature up, to keep the flow going. And then what they end up doing at the end of the day is they bust out the bottom of the clay structure that they made, and then they dig a pit, and all of the slag comes out first, and then all the iron follows it up for the most part. Some of it stays in. Then you break the whole entire thing down. You chip away and get rid of all the charcoal remnants and ash, and what you're left with is really, really high quality, high carbon steel that has literally pieces of carbon still stuck within it. Now, when you start to forge the bloom of this steel that's created, all that extra iron, some of it gets worked into the structure, most of it just gets thrown out as slag. And then you're left with really, really good high carbon steel. that has still a flexibility property to it because of how it was created. Because realistically it's crucible steel, but the way that it's done is the fire itself is in the iron, which is different than the Western way of doing it, right? Uh,
Uh,
we put
so,
iron in a pot and then add things into the pot. We're literally putting this into the burn with that.
right, but just understand kind of what you're doing when you get fire and it's all together and contained like that. It swirls.
Hmm.
Okay, so think about you're in a clay pot. Okay, so now let's put it together with the Rav. You have plasma that's swirling. Okay, at a good temperature, and then you have the clay pot. You may be taking some of the elements in the bottom of that pot and just putting in something different. You know what I mean, into the steel without knowing it.
Well, actually, I think what you just said was the part that I was trying to expose was the fact that the fire and the elements are all in the same pot, and the fire itself has a certain resonance to it. Right now, if you're using fire or like what is it, like soda, like if you're using a soda fire, for instance, to fire a burner to get the temperatures you need to heat a graphite crucible to then add your stuff in, there's an awful lot of stuff that has to resonate to that fire to be able to make a difference in the steel. And the mass amounts are so much, and it's always in such a constant state of phase change that chances of that happening are pretty limited. Well, what happens when you do it over the course of an entire day? And you do it in direct contact with and in harmony with literally the combustible material is giving the carbon content to the melting steel through the fire that it's producing. Everything is in the same exact state, and it's in the state of fire, in whatever resonance that's burning at. So and that fire has a rhythm, right? And it's weird because like you could have like a good crackling fire and stuff, right? Or you could sit there and be a prick and put it into a barrel and take an air compressor and start blowing on it real hard and it'll come out the top like nobody's business. But you want to know something? The fire's rate doesn't change. The rate of the burn changes, right? But the rate at which it moves,
Mm-hmm.
that that's always there. Like it seems to be pretty consistent, depending on what you're burning, right? If you burn different stuff, then it looks different, and then it goes different. But if you're burning the same thing, like even if you introduce more oxygen, increase the rate of combustion, it still does the same dance, just more. That's it.
So Krista says fire is plasma. Plasma is the ionized state. That's the magic. So basically,
Correct.
in order to make different steel that's way better,
Woo!
you
Someone
you
coming in hot. He buying some transistors.
what happened?
You'll see in a second.
Oh, okay, so hold on. So if that's the case, then the key to making what he did was exactly the craftsmanship it took to understand that over time and how he built it. You know what I mean? Versus these quick people that make the sword in a day. Maybe it took them several days to just get the fire right in order to make it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
Well, someone who was on to this early on was Faraday. People. This is like little known information, but Faraday, aside from doing all of his electrical theories and work, and as an early, um, contributor to all that, he was huge into the steel industry, and that's how induction burners happened, right? It's just like Faraday came around. He's like, guys, watch this. If you run a current through this thing, you're gonna melt it so fast, it's crazy, right? So, and then along with that introduction of those induction burners, he also was super interested in experimenting with alloys. And some of the alloys that he was experimenting with had what to do with like precious metals, so gold, silver, platinum, like very high end metals, figuring that adding these fine metals to it would actually improve its properties. And what they found was that it did, but not to the extent that it was financially worth the contribution, right? So
Right.
even back then, these were expensive materials to be putting in. So when they were running these experiments, they only ever used the steel that he produced from these experiments in the highest end things that were available at the time, mostly which was like straight razors. See how I know about these things? Because straight razors. Um, and also like military swords and stuff of that nature, and they even used it as branding back then, like silver, steel, silver added. um yeah, and if you put two and two together, if he created the induction furnace, and that relied on small batch crucible steel with fine metal inside of it, right? Well, what is running the induction heater? The current. What's the current at? A frequency. Well, it's putting the whole entire thing into that state of flux, into that resonant field at that point, pulling it into that resonant field. If that resonant field's in coherence with the steel and the precious metals, it's going to pull itself into a absolutely incredible structure at the molecular level, and then that's what you're forging. Because when you're forging, you're not really changing the molecular structure at that point. You're really just layering the molecular
Hmm.
structure into the shape you want. Um, Great stuff. It's great to know. This is how it all adds up when you start to see guys like that knew what was going on back then. But they did away with that process because they found cheaper ways with soda ash, to run the furnaces. So they did away with the induction heaters for quite some time. Now I believe they use induction heaters again, um,
Gotcha.
for alloying. Yeah,
I'm going to give a shout out to Sean. Now I saw what you're talking about. Okay.
yeah.
Sean,
Well,
thank you very much, brother. You didn't have to do any of that, bro. Thank you. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it,
that's
man.
one hell of a sticker there, boy.
Yeah, it is. Sean, you're awesome, my friend. So, yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah, of course we got to fund ourselves. Yeah. I'm running up against that right now, man. That's going to go a long way right
Oh,
there.
dead fish, Coke, soda, isn't it? In some states, Coke is soda, right? You'd say, "Let me get a Coke." They're like, "What kind of Coke?"
Oh,
I'm just making a joke of my mistake. Yes, Coke ash. Yes, that's what I meant. Not soda ash. That's actually that's a thing, but a different thing.
no, I understand. No, but that's cool how it all ties in, man. I'm not into sword building, but I just thought it was a great tie-in to actually look at the structure they used versus what we know in science now and what's its Rabs proving out.
Hmm.
Man, combination made in heaven. You
It's
know what
all
I mean?
correlated. Yeah.
Yeah, you learn a lot from it. And if you're a swordsmith, it's worth a try. You know what I mean? Go back to the old methods, see how they do it over time, build that frequency in there. You know what I mean? Start using modern tools to figure it out. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to harp on the subject, but you had mentioned before, like, or in the chat, someone did, like Damascus, right? So it's actually very interesting because there had been all these like primitive examples of like India steel, like woot steel, they
Hmm.
call it, right, from Damascus, and it was all finely patterned, like had very very fine, layering granular structure in it, and it was made for millennia or at least hundreds of years, and um, it got like that got lost to time, and then people started to try to reconcile that by trying to recreate it, and they were unsuccessful. And then people ultimately, decided, well, if if you can't figure it out, at least make something that looks nice. Taking modern steel pattern, welding it, making modern Damascus, right? But they finally figured it out. And it wasn't even that long ago. It was like within the last 10 years, they figured out finally how wood steel came to be, and it had everything to do with the impurities in that case. So, I hear the kitten.
Yeah, always running on the table when I'm live.
He loves you. So, I think that's interesting. It took for hundreds of years, they were trying to figure that out and never could. And then finally, within 10 years, they figured it out the last 10 years. And it had everything to do with what was in the ore to begin with. And now they could simulate it.
Nice.
Very expensive.
Got something to show you here. Dennis sent this over just now.
COVID? Is that what that? I don't know what it is. It's a thematic wave. Oh, that is cool.
Controllable frequencies with the drop menus for shared jobs. Stop, kitten. Yeah, they won't leave me alone. That's cool, man.
That's super cool. That's right. It's beautiful. And I'm assuming that all these fluctuations have to do with the interferences, be it, between the waves that are put in. That's what I'm assuming.
Let's see. Click left on the menu. Let's see if that even. Hang on a minute. I don't even know how I pulled this up now. We're gonna have to wait on that until I figure it out, and then I'll put it out there for everyone. He says click left on the menu, something happened, so.
Okay. Well, when we figure that out, maybe we'll have to spend some time playing with it on a live and show different frequencies on it.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Check that out.
It's absolutely cool. I don't. Okay. Something weird's going on with my computer, I think, is what's going on. It's not showing me the little tab at the bottom where I pulled this up at. And it won't go through the StreamYard and allow me to play with it. So.
That's very interesting. Cool.
Huh.
I have something similar where it's like it's just an app. It's a simple app. I think it's free on Android. I forget what it's called exactly, but you could take multiple points. You literally just touch the screen, right? And then you could, once you set a point, you could set specifics about it, like attributes, and what it does is it pulses, right? So it pulses and creates a pulse on the screen. And then you could introduce another dot anywhere else on the screen, and then it pulses, right? And you could have it pulse at the same rate, a different rate, whatever have you, and it shows you all the interference pattern that it creates, which is very cool.
Oh, here we go. Can you see it now?
I can. Oh, that's rad.
So he wrote this code and sent it to me earlier.
No, I like it, man. That's cool.
I'm going to have to share this, so I'll have to find a way to do that. Probably put it on my Patreon on the free side for everybody. This is so cool.
You can see where it's nodal points are forming, right? So where it's wagging from, where the point of emission is, right? And it seems to be north and south, but then also east and west. That's pretty cool. Now it's east and west. But it forms other nodal points too.
Dude, this is kind of trippy. It's like a 70s lava lamp, but better.
Well, this helps because if you could put certain inputs in, it'll show you what's coherent and what's not, and what the flow looks like. Because you see how this has definite flow to it, and sometimes it changes and whatnot. That's pretty cool, man. I like that a lot.
Yeah, we'll have to send this to everybody, man.
Yeah, it looks like it's got some good parameter settings in there too. So really customizable.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dennis, you did awesome, brother.
Very cool.
Huh. Yeah, I'll put this out on my Patreon, guys. I'll leave a link in the description of this video once we're done for the day. You know what I mean? Within 30 minutes or so, I'll have this up on there. That way everybody has it. This is really cool.
Yeah, that
Let's
is.
get that again. Oh, so look at that.
Right. Well, when it's like this, now it's like not really in like a flow state as much. You know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
doesn't have a directional flow. That's very cool. I like that. I don't know. Yeah, I can't wait to play with it myself. Right on, man.
Right on. Says lower down, it has more. Okay. Oh no, I'm going deaf. How do I stop it? Okay. Yeah, now that I blew out my eardrums. Oh my god, dude.
That's cool, yo. The tones that go with it, because you know that all that interference would modulate that like crazy once you have more than one tone in there. You know,
Oh, yeah.
that's super cool.
Okay, so I got these things up all the way, and I have hearing aids in underneath, and it just blasted the living daylights out of my ears.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't that obnoxious of a sound. I mean,
No, it's not that. It's just the amplitude of it. What's up, Lightspeed? What's going on, Robert, man? Cool. It came on Monday, man. Really awesome stuff, man.
yeah, no, it was a great show, and that it gave a lot of substance and purpose to what we were talking about earlier today.
Yeah, it all tied in perfect, didn't it?
Sure did, man. That's it. And it's like I said, it's like you could understand this stuff up and down, but the application, and being able to describe it and show the math and everything. I mean, you know, that's the hard part, the application.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, man. Sorry, I'm still kind of.
You're recovering from the buzz.
Dude, okay, so because I'm tone deaf mostly, I can't hear like bass sounds or really deep voices. Okay. But all of the other ones are amplified. So if you go in there and start messing around with a high frequency thing or something like that, I'm going to hear it. Well, sometimes it's like when the wife is in there doing dishes, I hear it like a jackhammer. Like she's just, it sounds like literally she took a jackhammer to the sink and just, right? And I'm over there dying, go, God, I can't be in the same room. So that's why I don't wear my hearing aids in the house most of the time. You know what I mean? Which means I can't hear anything on the TV. I have to watch the stuff going by. And then, I get in my garage and it's louder than hell, but I try to turn the bass off and they don't make something that's good enough just to amplify the other thing without putting it through a stereo system. So it's a real disaster. I'm telling you, getting old sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear that, man. I tell you, I used to hear a lot better before I started, back in the day, at least shooting guns without hearing protection and, going to see Ted Nugent and Metallica too often, it's like made me go deaf.
Oh, Ted Nugent, yeah.
Yo,
Running
I'll tell
around.
you, man, I've been to some shows, but Uncle Ted loud, bro. Like
Oh, yeah.
he's loud. That one note in Stranglehold, man, then he holds it, and you're like, make it stop. Don't ever stop. you
Yeah.
know?
Well, especially before he came out with, what was the band he joined up, that supergroup back in the 80s? So he was Ted Nugent running around in his leopard underwear all the time playing guitar. And then during the 80s, he went with a couple different singers, man. He formed a supergroup in there. Oh, what?
I know what you're talking about, but like it's killing me because I can't think of what it was. Somebody's gonna
Damn
damn
Yankees.
Yankee. Yeah,
There it
that's it.
is.
Dead fish coming through right there.
Yeah. That he toned down his guitar playing so much in that just to play in that band.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, he's one of the greatest guitarists of all time. He's a pretty cool dude. Yeah, I've seen. I don't know. I've seen him live like more than a few times.
Cat scratch fever. Nice.
Yeah, Wang Dang.
Oh man. Yeah, that's cool stuff, man. I like old school bands. I wish they'd let it play it on here. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Is Ted usually a Europe guy? He's not a Europe guy, is
No,
he? Not at all. He's
no, like the opposite of that, man. Like
no, Mr.
the
USA.
right, the biggest American flag I've ever seen in my entire life was literally behind the entire stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh yeah. I just remember I watched one video and he was on concert and he started swinging off of stuff, dude. Grabbing ropes, swinging things around, you know what I mean? Flying everywhere, just hitting that guitar hard, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of those dudes that ain't got a bad song. Sort of that. Yeah, he ain't exactly humble though. He'll tell you straight up, "I'm the best guitarist that's ever lived." I'm sitting there like top 10. Don't tell him that though. He get upset.
Oh yeah. What was he upset with? Joan Jett was named as one of the top 10, and he's like, not a chance.
Yeah.
It was his kept saying.
I don't know, man. My favorite guitarist when Rolling Stone did their 100 greatest guitarists of all time. I was happy he made the list because it's like little, like little known in comparison to like so many. But yeah. What Jorma Kalkinen? What did he come in like number 79 or something like that? I'm like, man, that's not the way. But
Yeah. I still like, what is it, Slash from Guns N' Roses.
oh yeah, no, he's good, man. I saw Guns N' Roses live about 4 years ago, like VIP front, row, and he hasn't lost it. I'll tell you that. And he played with Axl Rose, which that's always a big question mark as to whether or not Slash is going to be there when Axl's there. So
Oh yeah. Oh, who was the other one? Hot for the Teacher.
oh yeah, no, it's one of my favorite songs of all time, man. Great drums.
Yeah, dude, that guy, that guitarist in there, man, Eddie Van Halen, it's just amazing. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you. I think he's number one.
Have really Van Halen, yeah.
So that's just my personal opinion, only because that's the music I listen to more than all the rest.
Yeah.
Probably why. But yeah, Hot for the Teacher, man, and just as a kid, that's always what you wanted, some hot freaking teacher coming through. Then you go to school to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Or not
Class
learn.
dismissed. Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, we got Paul and Deadfish both saying, yeah, hot tuna. Everybody knows it's not hot tuna though, it's hot fucking tuna. It's like that legitimately the only reason that's not the name of their band is because I don't think like Grunt back in the day wanted the F word on their albums.
No.
It was that was a hard sell back in like 69 when they came out or 70 whatever. But yeah, that's my favorite band. Probably grew up seeing them. But yeah, no, it's good stuff. Actually, it's funny how they got their name. Right, so the song "Keep on Truckin' Mama," right? It's like basically about a skanky like hippie chick, more or less. There's one line in the song that's like they were playing the song live. It's like, "What's that smell like, fish? Oh baby, I'd really like to know." So somebody in the audience screamed out, "Hot fucking tuna!"
Oh, love it.
And they're like, "All right, I'm gonna run with that one." It's like,
Oh, absolutely.
put it on an album.
There you go.
Yeah.
Money for Nothing. I remember that.
Yeah, Dire Straits. Good stuff. But you get your chicks for free.
Yeah. Dude, I still remember Stairway to Heaven. You know what I mean? What is that, Led Zeppelin or something?
Mm.
And you go in there and all the guitar shops that were playing it,
No
and then they
stairway.
outlawed it.
No stairway. I don't
That
know.
was great.
I always like the Immigrant song, man. That was more my speed. Black Dog Immigrant song. I love that shit.
What's the one they played in Thor? Do you know?
I like barely watch movies, man.
Oh,
That's so bad.
I forget the name of it, but yeah, Thor came in all lightning bolts and everything falling out, you know, the sky. It was like the perfect song for it.
Right. Honestly, it's like Led Zeppelin's like the perfect song for any time. Really, you could put them on any time, any company, for the most part. It'd be all right.
Yeah, definitely love some Led Zeppelin going on there.
Yanni says, "No way, Axel and Slash." Wow. Yeah, I said the same thing. Those tickets were a lot of money, and
Oh yeah,
you know, they were both supposed to be there, and I'm like, yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. Like they always have to have a guitarist on call if Axel's on tour with them because,
they just didn't get
they'll
along,
get
or
along.
what? I didn't follow. They didn't get along.
No, they didn't get along. Man, I got some pictures from that show though that'd blow your mind. Like, you know, you could like read Slash's mind. How close it was. Yeah,
Gotcha.
really crazy.
Dude, I remember they were talking about Metallica did a show with Guns N' Roses, and the lead singer of Metallica had a pyro go off next to his hand or something and burned the shit out of him. He couldn't play the rest of the night.
Ah,
Instead of instead of being cool, you know what I mean? Guns N' Roses took off. You know what I mean? And the guy who sings for Metallica said, "No way, dude. We're just gonna do the show anyway." And came out, and after he went to the hospital, rocked on, man. I would be thinking to myself, dude, you get a chance to play with Metallica, you take it. You know what I mean?
I mean, James Hetfield said it himself. That sounds like a faded prima donna, right? That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah, dude. I would have, if I knew the tunes, man, I would have been up on that stage rocking it out. They had a guy on one of the shorts or something on YouTube, and they were playing in the band, and they asked him to come on stage and asked him if he knew the song, and he's like, "Hell yeah!" So he started ripping the song, dude, right along with him, played in perfect tune with the band.
That's awesome.
Dude, I
Uh,
love those experiences. Those are
I
awesome.
mean, come on, you're a really famous group. All your best fans of an entire area and then some have come and congregated to pay a lot of money and see you. You know, there's someone in that audience that knows how to play every one of your songs on every instrument on stage.
Oh yeah.
Like that's no joke. That's how that goes. No, but hey, it's crazy, man. I've been to a lot of shows, been listening to a lot of different kinds of music over the years, and it's like almost nothing I don't like. That's what I found. But I'm like kind of weird, and I just like I like privates,
Oh,
and
dude, I was gonna say that name of that band because they are just
yeah,
horrifying.
it's like, and the funny thing is, it's like I always said, if you're gonna get along with me, you probably will. But regardless, like if you're gonna get along good with me, all you need to know, all I need to know rather is not whether or not you like Primus, right? But whether or not if you can understand how somebody could like Primus, right? Now, if you can understand how somebody could like them, then we're cool. That's fine. But it's like, they're even I listen to them sometimes. I'm like, what am I doing? Just Les Claypool's like a monster, and I'm like a unpracticing bassist. Like, what do like? Doesn't get any better than him.
Yeah, dude, you sent me that thing and said to listen to it, and I'm just listening. I go, oh my god, dude, this is horrifyingly bad. Like, it's so bad somebody has to like it. Is the way I see it. Yeah,
That's it, man. Like, come on.
dude, it's terrible.
You got to get down.
All right, man. I think that's about it for us today, Joe.
I think it was a solid show. We went everywhere.
Oh, we did, man. Explained a lot of things. So yeah, and that pyramid, man. I'm gonna put that out as a short for everybody so everybody can see it. But
That thing is
that,
cool.
That picture rocks, man. So, all right. I want to say thank you to Darren out there. He gifted 50 Men Builds memberships. Thank you very much for that. I want to say thank you to Sean, man. Come up with a big super sticker, rocking it out like always, man. Thank you, Sean.
It's awesome.
Man, I want to thank everybody in the chat, man. You guys have been so awesome today. Great show, Joe. I think we brought it all back in circle where from the beginning to here, and I think we're just going forward from this point on.
Absolutely, except for when we look back one more time before the end of the year, because we'll have to do a Joe and Nathan greatest moments compilation for the new year. I'm dedicated to that cause, so I'm going to start fishing out those episodes.
You fish them out. I'll put them together and cut them up, and we'll just run them, man. I think
Yeah,
that'd be
man.
awesome.
I think that's great.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Peace and love.
The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.